So I'm glad you can hear and you can be heard. Anastasia, could you pull down the camera a little bit because you can't, okay. Yeah, that's much better. That's great. Okay. All right, we're gonna start in a minute. Well, good afternoon or morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Alena Plavšič, or if you cannot pronounce that, Alena Plavsic is just as good. Hey, you also works. And I'm the development manager of the Fund for Assistance to ROKOR, which is, as you very well know, is the best nonprofit in the world. And of course, I say that you know that because otherwise you wouldn't be here, right? Right? Okay. So please say hi in the chat. I can already see that somebody's texted us. Oh, and this is our own Mark Salori. He's joining us all the way from Mexico. Just in case you didn't know, Mark is our president. So it's, and I did not expect him to be here. Hi, Mark. Say hi from Mexico. All right, so again, thank you so much for joining us. And this is a very historic moment for the Fund for Assistance. And you'll understand why very soon, because I'm going to tell you that this is a first webinar, the first webinar that we've ever done in our lives at the Fund for Assistance. So please, I hope that you have your tea ready. I've got my oat stalks tea today. It's very, I highly recommend it. And I hope you have your tea or coffee. Tea's better at the Fund for Assistance. And yes, today is a very exciting day because today we're going to be talking about Haiti, and you're going to have a wonderful chance, a wonderful opportunity to find out everything that you ever wanted to know about Haiti because of our very, very special guest. But before I introduce her, I'd like to introduce my colleague, the great Matushka Margarita Rashko, who is our donor care extraordinaire. She's the one who sends you those lovely emails and letters that in response to your donations. And she is going to help me with French because my French is not very good anymore. Not that I ever was, to be honest, but my French is not doing so great. And speaking of French, our guest of honor today is Anastasia. And you can probably see her on the screen. Maybe say hi, maybe in case they can't see you.
Hello, good morning.
And this is Anastasia. She's 20 years old, and she is actually from Port-au-Prince. She was born in Haiti, and she is part of the mission. At the moment, she lives in the United States, and she's studying to be, well, actually, I'll let her say it. Anastasia, please say a few words about yourself. What are you doing in America, and what are you studying?
I am studying psychology, and maybe you're asking why she's studying psychology. My mom has a school for children with disabilities, and the goal is to study psychology here and then go back in Haiti and help with the school.
Wonderful, wonderful. And just in case you didn't know, Anastasia mentioned the school. There's an amazing, a very unique school in Port-au-Prince, and it actually was started by the mission, and it's called Foyer d'Amour. It's a home of love, right? And it is what makes it so unique is it's a school for handicapped children, and Anastasia can tell this story better, but basically vulnerable people are on their own in Haiti. So this school takes care of children who are handicapped, and it's also a social stigma. in Haiti. So they take them in, they provide food and clothes, and some, as far as I heard, some kids only have the school uniform. They don't have any other clothes. So, and the hot meal that they get at school is the only hot meal that they might be getting that day. So it's an amazing, amazing place. It's famous all over the world. It's definitely famous in Haiti. And the mission's own Matrushka Rose, she's one of the, I can't say the head of the mission, but she is the widow of Father Gregoire Legoutte, who was number 2 in the mission for many years. And she's just an amazing person. And she's the one who started this school. So Anastasia, you said that you're studying to be a psychologist, so you can work at that school?
Exactly. I want to provide psychological support to the children. And I think it's very important for the school also. This is
wonderful. Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. Well, let's talk about the mission. How many people do you have in the mission right now? Oh, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. Right now, we have about 100, more than 100 faithful in the mission. The mission in Haiti is managed by Father John, who is the principal delegate of the mission. There's also Matrushka Rose, we just talked about her. She's the secretary, and she's responsible for the sponsorship plan in Haiti. And of course, there's Father Jules, Pierre, and Claude, who respectively parish priest in Léogane, Jacmel, and Lekai. There's also Father Daniel Mackenzie, who is the administrator of the mission in Miami, with whom the local consuls work in perfect collaboration, I would say. And our mission currently has 6 parishes and 5 schools, and is recognized as a public utility in Haiti. In fact, they are in communities that welcome them with joy. Most are faithful or families with a lot of children who live in the community or in the surroundings area, and who love the churches. The vast majority of these faithfuls are unemployed, people who want to work, who are seeking for work, but who cannot find a job. And you have to know that our country, more than 80% of the population is employed, and they live under $2 per day.
You said they usually, I'm sorry. So you said that people in Haiti survive on $2 a day.
Yes.
And what does that look like? What can you get for $2 a day?
Basically, we cannot get a lot of things.
I'm sorry?
So I said we cannot get a lot of things because the foods are expensive.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, what can you get for $2? What does it buy? A bag of rice or bread?
Bread.
One loaf of bread?
Yes, and maybe coffee, I would say.
Mm-hmm. So, well, I doubt that somebody would buy coffee when they're hungry, right? They would probably choose to buy something else. Now I've been at the Fund for Assistance for over 13 years now, and it's one thing that's been difficult working with Haiti is that there's this cultural divide, cultural gap, because we just cannot imagine what it's like to live in Haiti. And none of us, unfortunately, from the Fund for Assistance have had a chance to go there and take a look at it. We did have a board member who went there for work, and she said it was absolutely unimaginable, the poverty and the suffering in Haiti. And she said, just, whatever we do, we need to raise more money for them because they need help now, because the level of suffering is not something that she's ever seen. And she's actually very well traveled. She's been to a lot of different countries, and most of them poor. So And one thing I noticed, I met Matushka Rose and Father Gregoire in 2010, I believe, no, 2011 probably. And they were in DC for a talk, and they were doing some fundraising for the mission. And one thing that was very interesting and explained a lot of things was that it seemed that people from Haiti don't like to dwell on their suffering. So whereas maybe somebody from the United States would be more open to talk about how it feels when they are suffering, describe in detail what they go through every day. It was very hard to get that kind of information from Haiti. Is it something that's just a cultural difference? Maybe, I'm sure there's a lot of things that I personally don't understand. Anastasia, could you maybe shed some light on that? Are Haitians just stoic people? You know what I mean? They prefer not to dwell on the negative.
Exactly. Haitian people are very strong and positive people. And even with all the difficulty, they are still, they are still strong. So,
do you think that's why a lot of Haitians are drawn to Orthodoxy because of the strength of the religion? Do you think that this strength in the Haitian culture, do you think that's why they are drawn to Orthodoxy?
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I believe so.
How did you become Orthodox?
Asian people, they have a lot of faith in God, I would say, and even if they are not Orthodox, there is a plenty other Christian religion in Haiti. So yeah, they are very Christian people, and they really, really pray, and they really trust in God, and they believe that God is the center of everything, and through God they can, how can I say that? They can do everything. They can raise and everything.
So they are very pious people.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but how did you personally become Orthodox?
Oh, my mom and my father were already Orthodox, so I was born Orthodox, and I grew up with the church, and I'm still there.
That's wonderful. How many people do you think, how many people are in the second generation of Orthodox people in Haiti?
I cannot give an exact number, but I know that there's a lot of faithful who are in the church, like for more than 20 years. Like so their children are still in the church, and I have example of some of them who are practicing to become how can I readers.
Are they converts?
Readers, yes.
Oh, I see. That's great. We talked about numbers in the mission, but my information was that there are several thousands of people who are Orthodox in Haiti across different parishes. Yes. I don't want to put you on the spot with the numbers. It's not an easy question. I just wanted to make sure that if somebody's wondering, we'll verify that information and we'll get back to you. Okay, so if you, by the way, if anybody in the audience, if you want to have, if you have any kind of questions, please type in the chat because we'd love to hear from you, and we want to know what you want to know about Haiti. And today is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to find out everything that you wanted to know from Anastasia. Because one of the challenges of at the Fund for Assistance is that we do not have the budget for traveling to Haiti, and so we cannot necessarily get all the information that we want, because so much depends on actually going there and seeing how things are done. So, and we're actually putting a lot of work on the mission, asking to provide us reports and pictures, and it's not always possible. So we're always hungry for more information to give our donors the answers that they want. So let me see what other questions I have. Okay, so I wanted to ask you this. So who are the people who are the members of the mission? Are these, my understanding was that these are usually people from a very poor background. Is that right?
Yes.
Are there any other people from more affluent backgrounds?
Excuse me?
Are there people who are members of the mission who are not, who are better educated and more affluent?
The families of the clan in Haiti are very poor. So many of our faithful cannot read. Note that the education in Haiti is very expensive. Here in the US, in most cases, tell me if I'm wrong, but in the US, I believe that the schools here are free, right?
Yes.
So in Haiti, it's not. And
so there are no public schools in Haiti?
There are public schools in Haiti, but it's you still have to pay.
Oh, I see. Okay. Wow.
Yes, and there's the education system is more about private school, and it's a very expensive. So the sponsorship plan, I know that the sponsorship plan support the families, and it's helped them to have a better standard of life, to eat, to have clean water, and there's also a strong determination from the responsible to move the mission forward. And we set up schools to meet the needs of children and families in the parishes, and also people in this community who cannot meet the demands of schools, So we've always the aim of supporting the families in Haiti, saving also our children from juvenile delinquency, because you have to know that gangs are recruiting children in this neighborhood. So the schools are very important in the mission, and we need support for materials, furnitures, and physical adaptation.
So just to reiterate, basically, the missions, one of their first and foremost long-term goals are to make sure that their kids have good, not just their kids, but the kids of in their neighborhoods, in their communities, have very good education, because it not only provides you with a chance at a better life, but also it makes you more immune to the gangs and being invited, accepting an invitation to be a gang member. Anastasia, also, would you describe a day in the life of a mission member? What does it look like? How do they wake up? What does their house look like? And what do they have breakfast? And what would they have for breakfast? Where do they go afterwards? Something like that.
People's days vary in relation to many things. Political turmoil, weather that sometimes you cannot go out because the weather do not allow you to leave the house. The gangs that wage war with each other, the economic situation, problems with electricity, fuel, networks. I believe it is difficult to describe a typical days for the families, but I can say that it is made up with all of these problems that we are currently facing. You also asked for the houses. The houses are often one-room houses. For example, I don't know if you remember these families in Leogane who live under a tent in a cemetery, yes. And she couldn't sleep when it was raining with the children. So this is the situation of our families. So it's very, in terms of political turmoil and all of these things that happen.
Mm-hmm. And how many people do you think, I'm not asking for exact numbers, obviously, but do a lot of mission members still live in tents after the earthquake of 2010?
Maybe not in tents, under tents, but the houses are do not have like a great structure or normal structure.
Okay, yes, and I remember I'm actually, I'm looking for the pictures that we had from a couple of years ago. I remember one of them showed, several pictures that we had showed people actually building their own houses, and they would look for building materials everywhere they could. They would save up every penny so they could buy another brick, and then they would build their own tiny little house themselves, and it would be generally one room, like Anastasia said, and a lot of them didn't have glass in their windows, and they didn't even have doors, so it would sometimes be a sheet, just a bed sheet that serves as a door. So that's really hard. Let me see. Okay, one thing. So what's interesting that you said is that there are basically no typical days in Haiti. The only thing that's typical is that all these problems keep coming up every day. Lack of electricity, you don't have anything to eat maybe, or maybe no water, you don't have employment. There are gangs out in the streets. So you can imagine what it's like to live in Haiti. So this is typical of pretty much all of Haiti, is that right?
Yes, yes. One thing that is definitely typical in, I would say, everyone's life who live in Haiti, it's the political turmoil and the insecurity, which is crazy.
Well, how is the life of a member of the Orthodox mission in Haiti any different?
Excuse me?
Would you say that the life of a member of the Orthodox mission in Haiti any different from the life of anybody else in Haiti?
I will not say that, because everyone is facing is facing the political turmoil. It's facing the guerrilla between gangs, also a lack of electricity. So I believe it's difficult for everyone, but in some areas it can be more than others. I don't know if you really understand.
Do you think that the members of the mission feel maybe a little bit more support because of the Hofer program, or because the mission is allied with ROCOR, with the Fund for Assistance? Do you feel that they have they feel like they're not alone, at least?
Yes, of course. The plan is very, very important in the mission, because it allows us to support our families. For example, we had the family of the Buto families. I don't know if you remember, it was a family of 8 with the father. He was sick, and he in a wheelchair, and the mother also wasn't well.
Mm-hmm.
And I am a witness of how the worker helped this family.
Oh, please tell us. Please tell us in as much detail as you can.
After church, usually my sister and I will work with the children, and we could have seen how they were happier. They were, and we felt that they also eat better. They were dressed a little bit better also, and it was amazing to see these changes. And I know that the father were going to the hospital also, and the mother, so they were taking care of them, and it was great to see all of this.
So what you're saying basically that when people like that have a little bit of help from the outside, it's a life-changing experience.
It's a life-changing experience. And I was talking earlier of this family in Leogane who we were able to construct for her like a basement. I don't know if I'm saying well.
Yeah. Your English is great. I don't know what you were worried about. Can you please type in the chat? And I see the questions. We're going to get them very soon. But could you please type in the chat that Anastasia speaks English very, very well? She was very worried. Anyway, you were saying that the mission helped construct a house with a basement?
Yes. And it was, we could see that it was a life-changing for them, and they could have started like a new life. And she was very happy that she has somewhere to sleep with her children. So it's very life-changing. And I am 20 years old. I am in the church since I was born, and seeing all of this is just amazing. Helping them, being there for them, being able to see how the mission help them is amazing.
Well, I just want to say thank you to all of our donors, because you know what, Anastasia, all the stories that Anastasia is talking about, you are the change that, you're the catalyst for this amazing life-changing things that are happening in Haiti. And without you, these things would not be happening. That family of 8 would still be probably living in a tent in a cemetery. So this is what you help us achieve. Thank you so very much. Without you, this would not have happened. This happy ending, or at least this improvement, life-changing improvement in their life, this would not have happened. So this is the work that you do. Thank you. And okay, now we have a bunch of questions. There's one question from Anne. She says, have there been kidnappings in any of the parishes? And if so, have they been rescued or returned?
There wasn't kidnapping in the parishes, thanks to God, but
there hasn't been, right? I'm sorry, you said there hasn't been any kidnappings?
I know that the daughter of Leader Etienne at Saint Moise, she was shot when she was doing her laundry.
Yeah, we heard that. And as far as I know, she was, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And we were able to help her find money in order to operate.
As far as I heard of the email that Matrushka Rose sent, she said that this girl, she was hanging laundry in her yard, I believe, where she was at home, and a shot came flying in, because there were gangs outside in the street, and she was hit by a random bullet. And the mission just came together and pulled money together. And it was very difficult to find a surgeon, but they did. And she's okay now, right?
She's okay now.
Yeah, thank you. But nobody else has been hurt or kidnapped, is that right?
I didn't heard that.
I'm sorry, but so far this is the only victim, right? Nobody else has been kidnapped.
So far, this is what I know.
Okay, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but again, I have heard from the mission that Father Jean, who is the head of the mission, he's been receiving regular threats over the phone. And in case you didn't know, Haiti is right now the capital of kidnappings, the kidnap capital of the world. And because the economic situation is so terrible, and because young people, they're watching their families suffer and they want a better life, and you can't blame them for it. But some of them do choose the path of crime. So, and they join gangs and they kidnap people for ransom. And this is just a part of normal life in Haiti right now. And this is one of the reasons why we're constantly raising money for Haiti, because we want to help our mission as much as possible. So the gangs have targeted Father Jean, and he's been in hiding for a while now. And as far as I know, he comes out sometimes and sees people. I don't want to give out too many details, just in case we don't want to put him in danger. But he's okay, but he's in hiding. That's the long and the short of it. Let's see. Here's a question from Mark. Anastasia, it's wonderful you agreed to share the situation in Haiti. Many of us simply cannot appreciate what is happening. From your perspective, how valuable were the donations made via the Fund for Assistance? What needs were covered that would otherwise not have been met? What difference have our donors made to the parishes? And what would happen if the funds would stop flowing? Thank you.
So as I said earlier, the donation from the Fund for Assistance are very important, and they allow us to support our families in Haiti so that they can meet their main needs. For example, to eat, to find water and things like that. The other question, so these are the needs that were covered from the FFA. And I believe that, as I said, these donations are life-changing for the faithful in Haiti. They help them doing better with their lives, I believe, and it's helped them to get a better life, I would say.
What's a better life in Haiti? So where do you start? So this is your terrible life and this is a better life. What does the terrible life look like?
From my perspective, a better life is to find, is to be in a better condition. For example, having food. It's very important, especially for our families. They have a lot of children. So it's difficult for them to find, to meet this expensive. So I believe that the money that they receive help them to do that. And also, there's also, even with the difficulty, there's also faithfuls who save money in order to build like a basement.
Yes.
Yes, for example, there's a Rachel in Lekai, and she saved her money so that she can build a one, how can I say that? A one
A one-room house?
A one-room house.
Mm-hmm. So, is that Rochelle?
Yes, Rochelle.
If you remember, Rochelle is, we had a special appeal for Rochelle, maybe 2 years ago. And this is an incredible story. This woman, Rochelle, she's in her early 40s, and she was a laundress, and she was trying to do, as much business as possible. She would wash somebody else's laundry by hand. And that would mean that her hands would be sore and bleeding, and she would lose the work because she's going to put blood on the people's laundry. So she would have to give up, and then her health got even worse. We don't know the reason. She didn't know the reason, but she just couldn't work anymore. And she has 2 sons, and she couldn't pay for their schooling, and she couldn't get the food, and they had to leave school to go to work at a very young age. So we ran an appeal, and our donors were absolutely incredible. And we had this whole little fund for Rochelle and people like her. And she was able, like Anastasia said, she was able to build herself a house, and she started another business. I believe it was something to do with coal. She would make and sell coal to her neighbors. And one thing that was very touching was she wasn't a very good businesswoman, in the sense that she would help a lot more people who needed coal and not take the money. So she would do it on credit. So, she was spreading the good further and further. So this is the kind of person that you are helping when you're donating for Haiti to the Fund for Assistance. So, thanks to people like you, Rochelle is doing so much better. At least she was before this whole thing started. Do you know how she's doing right now, Anastasia?
Right now, I know that she's doing great. She's in the one-room basement with her son, and yes, even with the earthquake that happened in August 2021, this doesn't affect her. Thanks to God, the house is still there, so.
Again, it's your donations that built that house, and it's your donations, it's your kindness, it's your generous heart that healed those bleeding hands. So thank you so much for giving to the Fund for Assistance. And I'm sure if Rochelle was here, she would thank you. I know that she prays for you. In one of the emails that I received from Haiti, from Matushka Rose, she said that Rochelle is daily praying for all those who have helped her, because you changed her life. And that's not, it's not just an expression. It's we use this word, this expression a lot, changing somebody's life. But just think about it. Your hands are bleeding, your kids have nothing to eat, and then you have your own business and you're doing very well with it, well, at least relatively well. You're not, maybe you're not scaling, but at least your kids have something to eat, you can pay for their schooling, your health is so much better, and you built yourself a house. That's the difference that you make. And we can't say thank you enough, but we're going to try. So thank you. Okay, if there are any more questions, please type in the chat. Let me see. What's the mission's biggest problem overall at the moment?
So our biggest problem at the moment is the insecurity in Haiti, and which make daily life of Asian people very risky. Murders and kidnappings for rancor carried out by gang have increased. If you remember, the former president Jovenel Moïse himself was a victim of the general instability of the country. It was assassinated in July. And unfortunately, the first victims of this guerrilla of the gangs are the Asian people For example, we just talked about the daughter of Leader Etienne, who was shot. Would take a bullet when she was doing her laundry. Yes, and like last June, for example, gang clashes in my neighborhood, and I was still in Haiti, and I don't think that there's exact words or strong enough that can describe that feeling of fear, panic, and stress that overwhelmed everybody.
Thank you. If you look at the screen right now, I think you can see my screen. This is a picture of Cité du Soleil, I think it's called. This is something I got off, stock photos. So it's not very recent. It's 2019, but my understanding is that this is typical for Haiti to live in conditions like these. So you can see that these are shacks that are built out of whatever, and there's on the right there, you can see that there's no roof. There's just a carcass of a roof. And how much protection does this provide in a tropical rain situation or wind, or this is how some of our brothers and sisters live. So yeah. Could you talk a little bit about medical care? What do you do if you get sick in Haiti right now?
So as I'm speaking to you right now, hospital in Haiti are currently closing their doors and cannot receive patients because there is no fuel, no electricity, no oxygen for the patients, and people are left to their own. So they take care of themselves as best as they can with what they have.
Yeah. So people are on their own when it comes to taking care of themselves, of their health, taking care of the safety of their own families, and taking care of their daily needs. You're on your own. And the only people who are helping are people like you who give to the Fund for Assistance and give to other nonprofits. And these nonprofits help the people in Haiti directly. Anastasia, what would you say to somebody who doesn't know anything about Haiti? What would you want them to know?
I would like them to know that Asian people are very courageous. They are very resilient. Despite everything, they continue to fight for living, helping our churches is helping our families, and helping our families is helping Haiti. So I hope that the sponsorship will continue to exist because it is a great contribution to the families in Haiti. So if you are in the live, I ask you to continue to support our families, to support our schools, to support what we are doing for them. And we need to keep doing this great work, and we cannot do it without you.
Thank you. Thank you. So please, if you can, please support Haiti. Please support the Fund for Assistance. I'm going to drop a link in the chat, so you can, if you want to, you can send a donation to the Fund for Assistance, and we'll forward it to Haiti. It's fundforassistance.org/donate. And you can go there and just leave a donation and leave us a note that you want this to go to Haiti. Unless anybody has any questions, I think that we're going to round out right now. And I'm very grateful that you were here. And please, let's do this again sometime. So if you have any questions, you can always email us, and we can maybe have another session like this sometime in the future, maybe shortly, maybe even this year. Anastasia, thank you so much for being here. You've truly shed a lot of light on the situation in Haiti, and I'm very grateful to you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Doesn't seem like we have any more questions coming in. So thank you. Goodbye.